Hello students, today we are going to cover marketing research. It is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. What is marketing research? The systematic gathering, recording, and analyzing of data about problems relating to marketing of goods and services. It is the function that links the consumer, customer, and public to the marketer. Research comprises of defining and redefining problems, formulating hypotheses or suggested solutions, collecting, organizing, and evaluating data, making deductions and reaching conclusions, and at last, carefully testing the conclusions to determine whether they fit the formulation. Research can be classified as basic research, that is based upon the knowledge, and applied research, that is problem-solving research and problem identification research. Basic research. Basic research is that intended to expand the body of knowledge in a field or to provide knowledge for the use of others. Applied research. It is carried out on for the solving of particular problem or for guiding a specific decision, and usually its results are private. Basic research attempts to expand the limits of the knowledge, not directly involved in the solution, to a pragmatic problem. Applied research conducted when a decision must be made about a specific real-life problem. Classification of marketing research. Problem identification research, which is undertaken to help to identify problems which are not necessarily apparent on the surface and yet exists or are likely to rise in the future. For example, the market potential, the market share, the market characteristics, image, sales analysis, forecasting, and trend research. Problem-resolving search. When the research undertaken helps to solve a specific marketing problem, it is called problem-solving research. Its examples are segmentation, product, pricing, promotion, and distribution research. Let's see through the diagram. The marketing research can be segmented into two parts. One is the problem identification research and the other is the problem resolving search, whose further subdivision is like market potential research, market share research, image research, market characteristic research, forecasting research, and business trend research. Whereas problem solving research can be further subdivided as segment research, product research, price research, promotion research, and distribution research. Let's move further. For this, we have to conduct a process. And what is this marketing research process? Let's focus on it. This process of marketing research starts with the very first step of defining the problem. Then we move to developing a research plan. Further, we move to collect the information and analyze this information, which we would present by our findings through a report, and finally make a decision for the problem that has occurred. Let us take them one by one. Defining the problem. What is to be researched? That is, what content and what is the scope of research? Why is it to be researched? It is the decisions that are to be made. We have to develop a research plan, and our research plan would constitute the data resources and research approaches. Data sources may be the primary sources or the secondary sources. And research approaches can be observational research, focus group research, survey research, behavioral data, and experimental research. Then we should also focus on the research instruments, how we are going to collect the data. It can be through the questionnaires, the qualitative measure, the technological devices. Also, sampling plan and contact methods. The next step is the information which we have got, we need to analyze that information. This information which has been collected is recorded for analysis so as to meet the objective. After analyzing, we need to present in front of the management. It should be prepared in a proper report format. The report should be maintainable for the future decision-making purpose. Make a decision, the last step of marketing research process. Decision should be taken from the information available in front of the management. If at the end research does not provide enough data, then the research is again started. We will move now to the next topic, that how we can classify our research designs. So students, our research designs can be defined as a framework or a blueprint for conducting the marketing research project. It details the procedures necessary for obtaining the information needed to structure or solve marketing research problems. As it is evident from the figure that research design can either be exploratory or the conclusive research design. We can further subdivide conclusive research design as descriptive research or the casual research. Descriptive research is further subdivided into cross-sectional design and longitudinal design. The cross-sectional design are either single cross-sectional design or multiple cross-sectional design. We would first cover the exploratory research. It is most commonly unstructured, informal research that is undertaken to gain background information about the general nature of the research problem. This research is systematic and flexible and allows the researcher to investigate whatever sources he or she desires. Such research may consist of going to the library and reading the published secondary data, of asking questions, salespersons, acquaintances for their opinion about the company, its products and services, and prices, or of simply observing everyday company practices. It is used in a number of situations. Number one, to gain background information. When very little is known about the problem, or when the problem has not been clearly formulated, we use the exploratory research. Firms that are having MIS, that is Management Information System, in which a review of internal information tracked over time can provide useful insights into the background of the company, its brand, and sales territories. Second is define terms. Exploratory research also helps to define terms and concepts, such as what is 3M image? The researcher learns that image is composed of several components. Which are these? The innovative products, friendly sales customer service, good corporate citizen, and so on. The third is clarify problems and hypotheses. Exploratory research allows the researcher to define the problem more precisely and to generate a hypothesis for the upcoming study. That is, banks have three types of customers: retail customers, commercial customers, and other banks for which services are performed for fees. They define which group bank image should be measured. Now the fourth is establish research priorities. Exploratory research can be used to prioritize research topics in order of importance, especially when it is faced with conducting several research studies. That is, customer complaint letters that may indicate the product or services that needs attention, or the office furniture store owner decides to conduct a research on the feasibility of carrying overhead projectors. After interviewing, his salespeople revealed that the customers were requesting overhead projectors. The secondary data analysis refers to the process of searching for and interpreting existing information relevant to research problem. Sources of secondary data includes information found in books, journals, magazines, special reports, bulletins, newsletters, and so on. An analysis of secondary data is often the core of exploratory research. Methods of conducting exploratory research. Experience surveys. It refers to gathering information from those thought to be knowledgeable on the issues relevant to the research problem. Case analysis. We refer to review of applicable information about a former situation that has some similarities to the present research problem. Focus groups. Bringing small groups of people together and guided by the moderator through an unstructured, spontaneous discussion for the purpose of gaining information relevant to a research problem. Classification of research design. The other methods of conducting exploratory research are projective techniques. We refer to the process of searching for and interpreting existing information relevant to the research problem. Sources of secondary data includes, as I have already discussed, the information that is found in the books, journals, magazines, special reports, bulletins, newsletters, and so on. An analysis of this secondary data is often the core of exploratory research. Let's come to the next research. It is called the descriptive research. This research provides answers to the question such as who, what, where, and how as they are related to the research problem. Who may be defined as a firm or the competitors or the customers. What may be defined as the brands, their sizes that are being purchased. Where it indicates the places where customers are purchasing products. Why? We cannot conclusively answer the question of why using descriptive research. Need to use casual research design. Classification of descriptive research. Number one, it can be classified as cross-sectional studies, which are very prevalent in market research, outnumbering longitudinal studies and casual studies because they are one-time measurements, often described as snapshots of the population. It is used to describe the readership of a magazine in terms of demographics. The longitudinal studies repeatedly measures the same population over a period of time, often described as movies of the population. To be successful, a researcher must have access to same members of the sample called a panel. The third is the causality. May be thought of as understanding a phenomena in terms of conditional statements of the form if X, then Y. These if and then statements become a way of manipulating variables of interest. If I spend more on advertising, will sales increase? Causal is difficult in terms of if and then in understanding business problems. The next topic that I am going to cover would be what will be our sources of data. The sources of data would be the primary data versus the secondary data. As it is indicated in the diagram, the sources of data can be divided into two types of data, the primary data and the secondary data. Primary data are collected by the investigator conducting the research himself. And the secondary data is data collected by someone other than the user. Common sources of secondary data for social science includes censuses, organizational records, data collected through qualitative methodologies or qualitative research. What are the various steps in collecting the secondary data? Number one, you have to specify the data requirement, what kind of data you want. Then, determine which data are obtainable from the internal sources. After that, you move to see internal sources for the secondary data. Then you move to the next by obtaining secondary data. This data which you have obtained, you will scrutinize that data's validity. Identify that data that must be obtained from primary sources instead. Sources of secondary data can be internal and external. The researcher can research and utilize the secondary data from both the above sources. Internal data source कौन से हैं? They are the sales and the marketing reports, accounting and financial records, miscellaneous reports. External data sources कौन से हैं? There is a wealth of statistical and research data available today. It can be either the federal government, provincial or state governments, statistics agencies, trade associations, general business publications, magazines and newspaper articles, annual reports, academic publications, library sources, computerized bibliographies, and syndicated services. They all are the external data sources. Where do we use our secondary data? First, we can use it in identifying the problem. Then, better defining the problem. Developing an approach to the problem. Formulating an appropriate research design, for example, by identifying the key variables. Answer certain research questions and test some hypotheses. Interpret primary data more insightfully. Two more advantages are as given below: the time and the cost advantages. The secondary research process takes very less time for the analysis. When secondary data is available, the researcher needs only to locate the source of data and extract the required information. Secondary research is generally less expensive than the primary research. The bulk of secondary research data gathering does not require the use of expensive, specialized, highly trained personnel. Efficiency can be more for secondary data. But there are certain disadvantages also of the secondary data. These are: the pertinent to research topic is not available or is only available in sufficient quantities. Some secondary data may be of questionable accuracy and reliability. Data may be a different format or the units that is required by the researcher. Much secondary data is several years old and may not reflect the current market conditions. The next slide shows you the research data. This research data, as I told you, is either secondary or the primary data. We have already discussed the secondary data. Let's come to the primary data. This primary data can either be qualitative data or the quantitative data. The qualitative data can be used for exploration, and the quantitative data we need to be descriptive and cause-effect related. Description can be given by survey data and observation data, and cause and effect data can be used for as an experimental data. Primary versus secondary data. Marketing research data is using both the secondary data as well as primary data. Primary data, which is segmented into qualitative and quantitative data. Qualitative research data is defined as an unstructured exploratory research methodology based on small samples which provides insights and understandings of the problem setting. A research methodology that seeks So the new lecture which I am going to now cover is the continuing part of research data. As it is clear from the diagram that the research data can be further classified into secondary and primary data, which can further be subdivided into qualitative data and quantitative data. The qualitative data can be obtained through exploration, whereas the quantitative data can be obtained by description and causal and effect. The description can be subdivided through surveys data, observation data, and experimental data. Let's take them one by one. The diagram shows that how marketing research data can be classified into two data, the primary and the secondary. The qualitative and quantitative research of the primary data. The qualitative research is defined as the unstructured exploratory research methodologies based on small samples which provides insights and understanding of the problem setting. Quantitative research is defined as the methodologies that tries to quantify the data and typically apply some form of statistical analysis. If we differentiate between the qualitative and quantitative research, we can find that the qualitative focuses on the gain understanding. It helps in gaining understanding. It also focuses on small number of non-representative cases. It is unstructured, it is non-statistical, and it develops an understanding at the initial point. Whereas the quantitative research focuses on a data that can be generalized. It is a large number of representative cases. It is structured and it uses statistical analysis and it recommends final action. Now let's come to various survey methods. Survey methods can use telephone method, personal method, mail method, and electronic method. Survey methods are shown how they can be conducted in this PPT. Let's see them one by one. Number one, it uses telephonic interview as one way. When personal meeting does not become possible, a researcher uses telephone to collect the information from the customers. All the necessary questions are asked through the chat. Then the other survey method is personal interviewing. Through this method, one can ask questions personally or can get the questionnaires filled up. Mail survey is the third method in which The questionnaires are got filled through sending them via mail or emails. In the recent era, surveys are also got filled through other networking websites and portals. Then comes the electronic survey. Nowadays, electronic machines have made the reach easy. So this is the fastest survey method. In this method, the survey is taken through the electronic machines and through internet connectivity. The example for this can be taken as video conferencing. Our next topic would be focus group. Who are the people from where we collect the data? A focus group is an interview conducted by a trained moderator among a small group that comprises usually between 8 to 12 people or respondents in an unstructured and natural manner. The characteristics are there are 6 to 12 people, there is a trained moderator, there is an in-depth discussion about a particular topic, the atmosphere is relaxed and informal, and the duration may be between 1 to 3. The goal of this is to learn and understand what people say and why. Focus groups are this way shown in the PPT how they work. They can first of all they plan what to do, why we are going to conduct the type of interviews in the focus group, for planning for that, then conducting, and finally we are going to analyze whatever the things are coming to us and further which can help our planning process. This helps in idea generation. Also, it reveals that what consumer needs, perception, and attitudes are. It also helps in structuring questionnaires. Also, the conduct of focus group will help in post-quantitative research, making the abstract real, and also testing the strategies and tactics. The advantages of focus groups. It helps as a synergy. It adds as a synergy. Its spontaneity is much more. It's very speedy process. It is a secure process. It is flexible and inexpensive. Whereas the disadvantages constitute of representativeness, misjudgment, lack of analysis, and the moderator's subjectivity. We would now focus on the in-depth interview. What are the characteristics of an in-depth interview? We have two people, the trained interviewer and the interviewee. Interviewee is exposed to a set of probing questions. They are usually face-to-face. Interviewer encourages the interviewee to talk more. The goal of in-depth interviews are to collect as much as memory, attitudinal, and behavioral data from the subject. Applications. The applications of in-depth interviews are, it is interviews with professionals, interviews with witness, when detailed probing is needed, discussion on sensitive and confidential issues, when strong social norms exist, interviews with competitors. The qualitative research in in-depth interviews would have certain advantages and disadvantages. The advantages constitutes that it concentrates on maximum probing on those issues which are as taken as a topic. There is a free exchange of information. It is easier to arrange, best for intimate sensitive issues. It is flexible. Whereas the disadvantage is it is expensive method, it is time consuming, it is exhausting for an interviewer. Interviewer errors can always bias the results, and respondent's bias or the reliability can be affected by his bias. Another way of collecting the primary data is through observation. Observation methods can be either structured or unstructured, disguised or undisguised, natural or continued, personal observation, mechanical observations, audit observations, content analysis, and trace analysis. We'll be covering them one by one in our next slide. Thank you. Okay, students, we were discussing the primary data observation method. As I have already covered the slide, we would start with the structured versus unstructured observation. The structured observation, in this the researcher specifies in detail what is to be observed and how the measurements are to be recorded. For example, an auditor performing inventory analysis in a store is an example of structured observation. Unstructured observation, here the observer monitors all aspects of the phenomenon that seem relevant to the problem at hand. The example of unstructured observation is observing children playing with new toys. Then comes the disguised versus undisguised observation. A disguised observation is when the respondents are unaware what they are being observed. Disguise may be accomplished by using one-way mirrors, hidden cameras, or inconspicuous mechanical devices. Observers may be disguised as shoppers or sales clerks. The undisguised observation, here the respondents are aware that they are under observation. Then comes the natural versus contrived observation. In natural observation, the observing behavior takes place in an environment. For example, one could observe the behavior of respondents eating fast food in a Burger King. In contrived observation, respondents' behavior is observed in an artificial environment, such as a test kitchen. Thus, we can see that observation methods can be further divided as personal observation, mechanical observation, audit observation, content analysis, and trace analysis. Personal observation, when a researcher observes actual behavior as it occurs. The observer does not attempt to manipulate the phenomenon being observed, but merely records what takes place. The example of personal observation is a researcher might record a traffic count and observe traffic flows in the department store. Mechanical observation do not require respondents' direct participation. The example of mechanical observation means the AC Nielsen odometer or the turnstiles that record the number of people entering or leaving a building. The on-site cameras and the optical scanners in the supermarkets are all the mechanical observation methods. Here, where we require respondents' involvements are the mechanical observation which use eye tracking monitors, pipilometers, psychogalvanometers, voice pitch analyzers, devices measuring response latency. Audit. What is an audit? The researcher collects data by examining physical records or performing inventory analysis. The data that is collected personally by a researcher. This data is based upon counts, usually of physical objects. Retail and wholesale audits conducted by marketing research suppliers were discussed in context of syndicate data. Content analysis. The objective, systematic, and quantitative description of the manifest content of a communication. unit of analysis may be words, characters, themes, space, and time measures, or the topics. All these are done under the content analysis. Then analytical categories for classifying the units are developed and the communication is broken down according to prescribed rules. Trace analysis. Data collection is based on physical traces or evidence of past behavior. The selective erosion of tiles in a museum, indexed by the replacement rate, was used to determine the relative popularity of exhibits. The number of different fingerprints on a page was used to gauge the readership of various advertisements in a magazine. The position of radio dials in a car brought in for service was used to estimate share of listening audience of various radio stations. The age and condition of car in a parking lot were used to assess the affluence of customers. The magazines people donated to charity was used to determine people's favorite magazines. Internet visitors leave traces which can be analyzed to examine browsing and usage behavior by using cookies. They all help in analyzing and collecting the data, which is known as trace analysis. So here we come to the conclusion, and with all this I thank you for being so patient to go through these slides. Thank you.